Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head, as we cook this baby up until 1:45. Then our pregame coverage of the Raleigh Regional kicks in. South Carolina and James Madison. We'll get into some of the particulars of what we've heard since we've last talked. We'll get into all that, the starting pitching situation for James Madison, which I think is interesting. We'll get to that. Guys from my hood. We'll get into that. Todd Mazzocchi, I believe. So we'll get into that. Talk about the pitching matchup. Eli Jones, of course, taking the ball for South Carolina. We'll discuss that as well. Get you ready for what's going to be happening later today. Elijah Campbell will kick in with us at 12:30. He's in Raleigh. He made it, Tyler. He's there.
Yeah, he was, I think about an hour out when he talked to us a little bit earlier, so didn't get lost on the way. No. Fortunately, didn't get I don't know if you drive through the mountains of North Carolina to get to Raleigh. There's a lot of mountains up there, so didn't drive off a mountain, didn't get abducted by a Yeti or something like that. So fortunately.
Those Yetis, I mean, sometimes, you run into the wrong Yeti, things go sideways.
Didn't get sidetracked by a craft beer place in Asheville. The usual things that happen in North Carolina.
I think he's got a better chance of getting lost at a craft beer place than getting abducted by a Yeti.
True. I went to North Carolina this past weekend I went to Concord, which is North Charlotte. I didn't realize how close Charlotte was to the state line. Like, you cross the state line and boom, you're in Charlotte.
You're in the city. Yeah, you're in the city,
Charlotte's practically in South Carolina.
Right. I mean, it's hilarious how close Charlotte is to the state line. Really is. So Elijah made it. He's in Raleigh. Nothing happened. Oh, he definitely could get sidetracked at a craft beer.
Well, he just looks like it. I mean, it's the man bun, it's the long hair, the flannels. I mean, he's born to drink craft beer.
Well, and he does. He does. He got that craft beer card at the end of last year, and his goal in that last 2 weeks was to use every craft beer on the card.
I'm pretty sure he did.
He tried. I don't know if he successfully made it to all the locations and drank all of the beer that was available to you, but he gave it an effort.
He certainly did.
Yeah, so I could see him getting. Where's Elijah? He's not at the game. There's this craft beer place between Columbia and Raleigh.
Is craft beer allowed in the press box? No, sir, it is not. No alcoholic beverages.
Then I will leave this establishment.
I will watch from the parking lot.
His reports. As I listen to the game on the radio, so Elijah will hit us up at 12:30. Give us a report from Raleigh, South Carolina, and James Madison. Interesting. Well, you know what? Let's let the old head coach talk about this. Get our guy, Coach Eichen. That's what they call. What was he called him? Coach Ike?
Eikenberry, I believe.
Well, they called him Coach Ike, didn't they? Is what they call him. But Coach Eikenberry, James Madison. Let Coach Ike tell us who the starting pitcher will be. Cut 9 there, Tyler.
Yes, tomorrow we'll start Todd Mazzocchi. Well, he's made a lot of adjustments throughout the season. He was a weekend starter for us early, pretty much for the first half of the season. And as he was making these adjustments, we felt like to take some pressure off him, put him back in the bullpen. And he's shown that he's done really well for us in certain situations to give us a chance. And really, the big thing for him is I think the adjustments he's made are paying off.
Yeah, Mazzocchi, if you just look at stats, you're going, yeah. Starting this guy, fantastic. His overall numbers, they don't wow you at all. I mean, he did struggle early in the year as a weekend starter. They put him in the pen. He's had a few good moments, though, this year. But overall, you look at the numbers. I mean, I had it right here. An ERA of almost 7. His whip is close to 2. Walks and hit by pitch combined 27 and 47 innings. Also has given up 65 hits. You look at those numbers, and if you're a Gamecock fan, you're drooling at the prospect of what South Carolina could do. But to be fair, Tyler, where is it? The last 2 outings, he was okay against Old Dominion. He was
Southern wasn't great.
Georgia Southern knocked him around, but the appearance the 16th of May against Troy, 4 innings, 1 earned run, still walked 3.
Yeah,
but
and he's not a high strikeout guy, or at least hasn't been for the back half of the season. So he's not somebody that's going to fan you pretty easily, doesn't seem like. And he averages about 2 2/3 of an inning. So if South Carolina can get him out before 3, take advantage of him early on, get on base, and obviously drive in some runs, he should be in pretty good shape for the rest of the game because that's kind of his thing. And it reminds me a little bit of what I say about Eli Jones. There's he's going to give up hits, just about mitigating the damage when guys get on. And unfortunately for him, it's been very up and down with the amount of runs that he allows on a game-to-game basis. My
biggest thing is, he's from Cockeysville, Maryland, which is a suburb of Baltimore.
That's a real place, Cockeysville, Maryland.
It's a real place, Cockeysville, Maryland.
That's not some fictional town from a TV show.
No, it's not. It sounds like it would be something that where the neighborhood next to where Leave It to Beaver lived.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a real place. Good restaurants. But he went to this high school, Delaney High School in Baltimore County. One of the high schools we hated.
Okay.
We did not. They were the preppy kids, preppy kid high school. We did not like Delaney High School. And my school was the most hated school in Baltimore County.
Of course.
I mean, again, career day.
You had bars on the windows,
Yes.
broken glass.
Yes, and we chewed on broken glass. Again, the career day at my school, 2 tables: the military, the Maryland State Penitentiary. My high school was, you could not wear I told you this, you could not wear your varsity gear out because eventually someone wanted to punch you in the face because some guy from Kenwood did something awful to somebody.
Or one of your classmates had, broken into a, local convenience store and you got arrested for it.
Yes. I won't talk about the time, I won't say the high school, where one of our people decided to throw a brick through the front glass doors. We won't get into all this. The fighting, the things that went on, the fluids that were, anyway, I won't get into all this.
Yeah,
but
we've said enough.
We were not a very liked high school in Baltimore County, which stunk because if you didn't do any of that stuff, people still wanted to beat you up. Delaney was not a school we liked. There were people at my school that took it out on them, that they were the rich, preppy kids. Things did not go well.
So one of those rich, preppy kids is
He looks like it, not to
today.
be mean. He looks like have you seen his picture?
I've seen his picture. He
does not. He look like a rich, preppy kid.
If you told me he went to the preppy high school of the county,
you would not be surprised.
I would believe you.
So now I have even more want for South Carolina to knock young Todd around because he went to a high school that not a favorite of my folks. Just saying.
What? It's only a 3-hour drive. So if you jumped in your car right now, you could probably make it to the back end of his start. You could just heckle him from the stands.
I would say.
Hey, Cockeysville.
Hey, how creeped out would he be if some dude screaming bad stuff about Delaney High School?
Who the hell is this dude?
Where's this weirdo screaming about Delaney High School? So Todd Mazzocchi will take the hill for James Madison. Again, a guy who has given up runs. He's given up hits. He's given up base runners. And if he goes by, and look, he has had moments, to be fair, where he's pitched well.
Yep.
But if he goes by the MO of most of the season, you're going to have opportunities here. And like you said, you hit it perfect. Not a high strikeout guy. You're going to put the ball in play against this dude. Barrel him.
Yeah.
Barrel him. And hopefully you'll have some success. 2 other interesting points about this game, Tyler. James Madison has 2 guys out of the bullpen who are really good that South Carolina are probably going to see. And I got to move closer so I can make sure I get it right. Hunter Smigmer.
Why are there so many hard pronounced names in this regional?
It's crazy. Smigmer is excellent. ERA of under 3. WHIP is 1.3, but still, the guy's got good numbers. And then it's Joe Vygotsky, I believe is how it is.
I'll take your word for it.
No, Vygotsky. Joe Vygotsky. He was drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays last year, but came back to school. So obviously, they didn't pony up the money that he wanted, or he wanted to improve his draft stock, right?
Right.
So Joe Vygotsky. ERA this year, 3.14. Nice whip, 1.23. 2 really good bullpen arms. And they got a very short sampling. Tyler, and this is an easy one, Muscar. Thank you, Tyler.
There you go.
Muscar only threw in 4 games, but has some really good numbers. And they've got an interesting bullpen. Another guy, Griffin Madden. So my guess is Todd from Delaney is going to get about 3. He's going to get a very short leash today. He'll probably get 2 or 3 innings. If he's throwing well, he might even get to the 4th. But they've got a depth of solid to good bullpen arms.
Right.
And they ain't going to mess around. So that's my guess is what's going to happen today for James Madison. I could be totally off. Didn't really hang out much with the James Madison baseball team, but I feel just looking at numbers and kind of looking at game logs, that's the way this thing will probably go today.
Right.
For the Dukes. So if you're South Carolina, get Tad early because he can be gettable. So we'll see what happens there. Also, they run a lot.
They do. They are very active on the base path, including their guy, which I said he sounds like he should be in a Shakespearean play in like the 1650s. Fenwick Trimble.
Yep, Fenwick Trimble. By the way, he sounds like he went to Delaney.
Fenwick Trimble the third.
Yeah. Oh, he has to be he can't be a first. He can't be a first. So Fenwick Trimble will run. They like to steal bags. But here's the good news. You played against a team that did a ton of that in Kentucky.
Yep.
Kentucky put pressure on you with their running game. So you've been through this. And again, with that stuff, it's not just can Cole Messina throw out base runners. Can your pitchers hold base runners? Can your pitchers be fast to home plate to give Messina an opportunity to throw out guys? And can you know what the best way to stop a running game? Keep them off the bases.
Yeah.
There you go.
Boom.
So, but you have seen this formula from a Kentucky team who, by the way, is a high national seed.
And that fared pretty well against them.
Yeah. You won 2 out of 3.
And in the tournament.
Yeah, you won 3 out of 4 over Kentucky. So that's the good news there. But James Madison has a little bit of that MO as Kentucky when it comes to putting pressure on you with the run game. I will come back in, obviously, hear from Coach Kingston. His thoughts. We'll get a Gavin Casas update. He'll talk about starting Eli Jones and some other things, the third base situation as well, which we've talked about all week. We'll hear what Coach Kingston says. Next, it is a halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head. We're about an hour and a half before our coverage of the Raleigh Regional, our pregame coverage with, obviously, Derek and Stewart leading you up to first pitch at 2 against James Madison right here on the Game in Columbia and in Myrtle Beach. Halftime show on the Game. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head here on the game. Obviously today, 1:45, we get rolling in the regional.
Under an hour and a half. I feel like I told you this morning. Hayes kind of in the barn, right? Well,
Yep.
we've dissected this 6 ways from Sunday. I'm just ready to see it happen.
Yeah, exactly. You and I were talking this morning. Okay, what else can we squeeze out of this? We've kind of taken all the directions. We've talked about James Madison, talked about South Carolina, talked about James Madison likes to run. Their slugging percentage is really high. Their pitching, yeah, bullpen good. South Carolina, third base, whoa, no, pitching, yeah, offense. We've pretty much run out of angles, almost.
Basically.
So let's let Mark Kingston talk. All right, Coach, his presser, talk about a variety of things. We'll start off with this. I always love the injury updates because coaches hate this.
Of course.
They hate it. Some do better with it than others in expounding a little bit.
Here's the thing. Coaches don't want to tell you who's available and who's not.
No.
The other reason we get those in pro sports because they're required to do that.
Yeah, because there's this thing called wagering.
And we might actually be required to do that in college football for too long.
Might be coming. So here's Mark with a lengthy injury update on Gavin Casas.
Gavin had surgery this morning, so he will be unavailable for the rest of the way.
There
you go. That's it.
What more do you need to know?
Direct to the point. That's it. So Gavin Casas is out, and we didn't think he was going to play him.
No.
Look, hand the bone thing. I've seen this happen to hitters in Major League Baseball. They talk about the Christian Walker deal. He was because he was superhuman when he was in South Carolina. He played with one hand.
Right.
But typically, this you're done. You're just done.
Oh yeah, especially within this season. For however long the postseason ends up being. We hope it's a couple more weeks. But, yeah, Gavin Casas, when you saw it happen, last week against Kentucky, you knew it was probably bad. Had the brace on it earlier this week, did have procedure done, and he's going to have, unfortunately, have to be watching the rest of the year from the dugout.
And here's Coach Kingston. We know Eli Jones will take the hill today for South Carolina, and here's Coach Kingston talking about starting Eli Jones.
I think Eli earned the right because he's one of our most mature guys. He's been here before. He's pitched some really big innings in the NCAA tournament already. He's trending in a good direction. And as it relates to how long he'll go, we'll just kind of let the game dictate that. If he's doing well and we think we need to throw him out there for the next inning, we'll do that. If it looks like it's how it's been recently where he gets to a certain pitch count and we need to pass the baton, then we'll do that.
Perfect strategy.
Yeah.
If he keeps throwing well, we'll keep putting him out there. If there's a sign of trouble, we'll go to somebody else.
And what was the approach they had last week? If it continues to go well, we're going to ride it until it starts slipping. I mean, Chris Veach, nobody thought he was going to go in there and throw, 5 2/3 innings, and he did. And it's like, hey, this is going well.
Yep.
Let's keep it rolling.
God love Veach. You just look over at him and go, well, what are you sitting here for? Get back out there.
Yeah. It's like,
what are you doing?
You ever, like, you look at like an adult or a coach, something like that, for that approval of like, am I cool? Am I supposed to be doing this? And they're just like,
they're pointing to the mound, right?
They're pointing to like, go back out there.
Get out there. Ain't no reason not to.
Tell you. All right.
Can I go play on the? Can I go play on the monkey bars? Yeah, go.
Yeah, whatever.
It's all good. Go get them.
Until it starts to become a problem. Then Matt Williams will make one of his 12 trips out to the mound.
Yep.
And then you know it's over.
And the next guy will get the ball. All right, so there's Coach talking about starting Eli Jones today. Third base also is a thing. Is it going to be Lee Croy? Is it going to be Causey? I think it'll be Lee Croy. If it's me, and again, I'm not coaching, and Mark didn't ask, I'm starting Lee Croy. He was there last year in the regional and the super regional. He typically hasn't been this guy in the field defensively. He's always been solid. I think you go back to Lee Croy. Causey's too much of an unknown, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, a guy that hasn't really played in over a month.
Was it mid-April? April 20th or something?
It was the Arkansas series, middle of April. So
it's been a while.
To go from sitting on the bench to playing in an NCAA regional, that's pretty high ask.
Yeah.
And, again, you just hope it's not one game, but a couple of game blip on the radar for Lee Croy. Just had a bad week or whatever it may be. And again, I'm sure they've fired 1,000 grounders at him this week and line drives and all that kind of stuff at third base to hopefully get him back in the rhythm. But you're not going to know until you go out there and play today.
Yep. So here is Coach Kingston talking about the third base situation.
They'll both be ready to go. They both had a good week of practice. They both were challenged with a lot of work in terms of the degree of difficulty, a variety of plays, and they'll be ready to go. They're not going to be perfect. Nobody's going to be perfect, but they're prepared and they're ready to go, and I think they're both confident.
They're ready to go.
I hope so. and you know, the starting lineup, I keep checking. It should be out here within the hour. I think it has to be at least
45 minutes.
45 minutes for first pitch. So we'll know very soon. But the fact that he did not definitively say it is LeCroy does kind of put that little bit of doubt in the back of your mind. Like maybe they do go a different direction. I don't know.
But to your point about, the starting pitcher or whatever, and injuries, they don't want to tell you anything. It's all covert and top secret. So if you're Mark Kingston, you're going to say, hey, ready? Everybody's ready to play third. Everybody's available.
Here's the thing. Regardless of who you tried out there, JMU's game plan is hit it to that guy.
Until he can field it.
Because you're either going to have a guy that just had one of the worst defensive weeks of his entire career or a guy that hasn't played in a month.
Yeah, either way. Either way, defensively, it's a shaky spot. Look, LeCroy has struggled offensively as well.
Right.
Now, how much of your offensive struggles are you taking out to the field defensively? Who knows? But LeCroy has it's been a tough go for LeCroy here lately. All right, let's also get Coach Kingston. Let's go with cut 4, Tyler. Coach Kingston talking about his opponent later today, James Madison.
Team, they're pretty physical. They steal a lot of bases. They like to bunt. They're a multifaceted offense. They like to do a lot of things to try to make you uncomfortable, and that's what we prepared for. So it's a good team. It's a team that can score a lot of runs. They have a win against Arkansas, so it'll be a great challenge. It'll be NCAA postseason baseball.
I mean, their strength of schedule, non-conference, is among the toughest in the country.
Oh, yeah. Then they played with 4 tournament teams this year. And they scheduled, North Carolina and I think Virginia Tech, teams like that in their midweeks. They played good quality opponents. Yeah.
Yeah, and they played Arkansas. They lost 2 out of 3, but they did scalp a win in Fayetteville.
They did.
For a team that's a national seed. Let's go let's move off a little bit to Aaron Fitt now, Tyler, talking about James Madison. Aaron Fitt from D1 Baseball hanging out with Jay and Elijah yesterday. He also gave you a little bit of a scouting report on James Madison, our boy Trimble, and the rest of their offensive weapons.
Yeah, he is. He's super physical. He's got real power, and I saw him quite a bit last summer on the Cape Cod League, and against good players, and he's a performer. He's battle tested. He's their best player for sure. But this team does have power. Beyond just Trimble. That's kind of their strength. I would say their carrying tool as a club is a bunch of guys that can hit the ball out of the park. Now they play in an offensive yard in an offensive conference, but heck, the same goes for pretty much everyone in the ACC and SEC. It's, offense just rules the day these days. But between Trimble and Jason Chavone, their catcher, and, Mike Mancini and Brenner O'Donnell, they got some guys that can drive the ball out of the park. And you got a pretty decent, I think, number 1 guy in Donovan Burke who's going to compete and give him a shot. So, I don't think they're one of the stronger 3 seeds. I didn't think probably that they should have gotten in, frankly, compared to some of their bubble teams. But they had a solid year, and they played a very good schedule, so that they're battle tested. So they got that going for them.
They are battle tested. Like it feels like almost all the teams in college baseball, they're offense heavy. They run, slugging percentage is very high. I feel like it's so funny. We're all talking about this, that this game could end somewhere near midnight, right?
Sure.
70-69. Watch us get a 1-0. Watch us get a 1-0. Teams combined for 5 hits.
Yeah.
Kind of game.
It does kind of seem to go that way, but I will say we touted the LSU games last week as to being boat races, and they both ended up kind of being boat races. Though the second one shouldn't have if defense was a little bit better. But, I don't know. This thing ends up being 2-1 or something like that. That'd be pretty funny.
It would be funny and stunning at the same time. All right, we're going to get a report from Raleigh from our boy Elijah Campbell, who'll be covering the Raleigh Regional for us here, and also obviously still hanging out with Jay on the postgame show. Elijah, giving us the lowdown of what he's heard in the last so many minutes from the Raleigh Regional. That's next here on the Halftime Show with Terry Ford and Tyler Head. We go to 1:45, then Carolina baseball in the Raleigh Regional. Our coverage starts then here on the game. Where we're talking about is the Raleigh Regional. Coming up today, again, 1:45, our coverage gets started with Stewart and Derek. 2 o'clock first pitch, South Carolina and James Madison. So why don't we go to Raleigh? At some craft beer location with our buddy Elijah Campbell.
Now, I have confirmed he has not been arrested for anything as of yet, but as I told him, the weekend is still young.
No,
so he's not gotten any trouble as of yet.
We see the man bun. We see the attire. He looks like he's about to commit a crime.
Well, you know, can be off-putting to some people. Speaking of craft beer, by the way, believe we have some friends that are responsible for Elijah being up there.
Hit it.
Covering the Gamecocks live from the NCAA Regional in Raleigh.
Sponsored by Columbia Craft, 520 Green Street in the Vista. Columbia Craft, craft beer famously hopped.
On the Game.
All right, let's get Elijah Campbell in here. He looks like a felon, but so far so good. How you doing, bud?
I'm good. I do give off the appearance of Richard Nixon's worst nightmare with the beard and the long hair and the floral shirt. I'm wearing the Lennon shorts right now too, so I'm really working that part up.
I'm not sure how familiar you are with the term beatnik, but you definitely nail it to a T.
Wait a minute. I got two guys under 30. Wait, hold on here. I got two guys under 30. One's bringing up Richard Nixon. The other one pulls beatnik from the 1960s. What are we doing?
We are men of culture, Terry.
We are. We paid attention in history class. I did take a beat literature class in college, and it was one of my favorite classes. It was phenomenal. I learned a ton, and it might have inspired my look that I have today.
Hey, Terry, to quote Billy Joel, we didn't start the fire.
Oh, geez. I feel like the young guy here. This is what's so funny.
You are now.
I know. I feel like
it. Rule. You are now.
Jeez, I drank my way through history classes. But anyway, all right. All right, so we know Eli Jones has started. We know that James Madison's putting a guy on the hill who has had some issues this year with consistency and has been knocked around at times. Give me your thoughts, Elijah, on this pitching matchup as we move into Game 1 of the regional.
Yeah, if you look at JMU's, like their starters, their top two starters are left-handed pitchers, and I think they're probably using the strategy of using those two guys because they're by far the two starters that have eaten up the most innings. And, one has an ERA of a little over 3. That's the best one on the team because the team ERA is 6, right?
Right.
So I think they might use that to get them out of a weekend hole and maybe hope that you can keep the ball in the park, I guess, with the pitcher they have today. It's a small park, Terry. I mean, we're 330 in the right field corner. We're 327 in left. It's a lot like Lindsey Nelson in Knoxville, and we know exactly how much the ball flies out of that park. So, and the thing with Eli Jones, sinker ball pitcher, you're hoping he keeps it on the ground because they're going to make contact, right? This is a James Madison team that, compared to the rest of the Sun Belt, they don't strike out a lot.
Nope.
And they don't walk a lot. So the ball's oftentimes in play. And with a pitcher like Eli Jones, while he's not striking out 10 guys in a game, right, he is going to be able to manufacture outs by maybe creating some bad contact. So for the Gamecocks, the hope is his sinker's working, and that ball is going to be on the ground, and you make the plays behind him enough to where you're able to manufacture the adequate amount of outs to come away with the win.
I was getting ready to say, you need to field the baseball when it is hit on the ground, which has been an issue during Hoover Week. And you bring up what James Madison does offensively. It almost feels like they're the Kentucky of the Sun Belt.
Oh, certainly, yeah. They stole 100 bases this year. And if they were in the SEC, they would be second in the SEC in stolen bases, behind only Kentucky at 102. They're birds of a feather because Kentucky doesn't strike out a lot. Kentucky doesn't walk a ton. Kentucky's aggressive on the base pass, and so is this James Madison team. So they kind of are in the spirit, a spiritual cousin of Kentucky baseball. But the only big difference is Kentucky only has maybe one or two guys that have hit more than 15 home runs or so. They don't have a lot of sluggers in that lineup. This JMU team has hit 84 home runs this year, which is only 10 behind South Carolina. They got 5 guys that have hit over 10 home runs on the season. So they got guys that can hit the ball out of the park. So if there's a little bit of a differentiation between them and Kentucky, it's that there might be a little more pop in these James Madison bats in terms of just hitting the ball out of the park.
I believe second in the Sun Belt in conference games with slugging percentage, I believe, was James Madison. Elijah Campbell hanging out with us from the postgame show, covering South Carolina and the Raleigh Regional, sponsored by our buddies at Columbia Craft. We talk about the James Madison pitching strategy. Today, James Madison, if you just look at the ERA of 6.14, you go, ooh, give me a bat, party time. But their bullpen, they have some guys in that bullpen that are good. The bullpen is deep with solid to good pitching. I mean, one of their relievers drafted by the Blue Jays last year. So it feels like today also we're going to see our guy, by the way, he's from Cockeysville, Maryland, and pitched at a high school that my high school didn't get along with.
Hey.
Exactly. Just to give you a little insight there. Yeah, a little insight on Todd. So anyway, when Todd takes the mound, I've been calling him Todd. Mazzocchi takes the mound. You're thinking he's going to go probably 3 innings. If he's really cooking, he might go 4. And then James Madison is going to throw the deep bullpen at the Gamecocks.
Yeah, shoot, Terry, if he gets you 3 innings, I think, they're popping champagne on that dugout. Not because he's been atrocious, but because this Gamecock lineup has a significant pop. And what they showed in Hoover was that you can have good pitching staffs, and they're going to hit it a little bit. And that's the one thing about this Gamecock team that has been their saving grace is they've been able to, against good pitching staffs, be able to put up enough runs for it to be really competitive. So if their starter comes in, JMU's, and is able to get them 3 innings, and they've only given up 3-4 runs, I think you're probably feeling decent. If you're giving up less, then you feel like you're in a position to win because then you can hand it over to your bullpen, which is certainly the strength of this JMU team in terms of the guys they have on the mound. How much they're going to want to expend in this game, I don't know. I think tomorrow they'll probably start the left-handed ace who can get them a little further in the game. He's almost at 70 innings on the year, so maybe they hope that he can get them further in a game tomorrow, whether it's in the winners or losers bracket. But I have a feeling that they're going to go bullpen heavy and almost use our boy Todd here as a little bit of an opener.
Elijah Campbell hanging out with us, covering the Gamecocks from Raleigh, sponsored by Columbia Craft here on the Game Halftime Show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head. All right, spin back to the Gamecocks. Lee Croy, Causey. I think if I'm filling out the lineup card, I'm putting Lee Croy back at third. He played last year in the tournament. He's always been a decent defender. He's never been what we saw last week. I think you got to put Lee Croy back there. Causey's just such an unknown. He hasn't played in since the 20th of April. I just feel like you put Lee Croy back there.
Yeah, he hasn't played since the 20th of April, and I can't remember the last time I guess that Causey started. I don't even know if he started that game. If I remember correctly, it's been a long time since he started. Causey was an awesome story at the beginning of the year, but you're right. Unknown's the best way to describe it. I would start Talmadge Lee Croy today. I'm in the same boat, and I feel fairly confident he will. I saw him out here fielding third. Fungos at third base, and he looks comfortable. Now he didn't botch any. He looks like he's pretty locked in. Took BP as well, and he was able to get a couple of fly balls out to to deep right center, deep left center, sprayed around a little bit. So what you get from his bat, you don't know. That's been the real thing with him that's struggled a ton here in the last, 3 weeks or so?
Yep.
He's really struggled in that regard and is getting close to being a liability towards the end of the lineup. If he can just get a hit or two today, and be able to gain some type of confidence back, that's going to be huge. But the one thing I do expect is him to bounce back at third. I think he isn't as bad as he was in Hoover normally, right? And that's why Mark has trusted him at the hot corner all season long. So I expect to see him out there today, but also wouldn't be surprised if maybe in the third time around the order we do see Tyler Causey, especially if he strikes out twice or goes 0 for 2 with not so great contact and maybe leaves some runners on. I think that's certainly on the table is to see Tyler Causey at some point during the game today.
Covering the Gamecocks in Raleigh Regional, sponsored by Columbia Craft, our buddy Elijah Campbell from the postgame show here on the halftime show on the game. All right, we saw what Cole Messina did in Hoover, which was unreal. I mean, didn't miss anything for a week. He was phenomenal offensively. We've talked about, though, this James Madison run game. If they get guys on base, which is the best way to stop their run game, keep them off base. But if they get guys on the bags, they're going to run. It's more than just Cole Messina throwing out runners. We were talking about this earlier. Pitchers have to hold runners. Pitchers have to be fast to home plate. So the pitchers have some responsibility here as well to stop this run game. But you did beat Kentucky 3 out of 4, and Kentucky runs even more than James Madison.
Yeah. certainly. And that's the thing with this James Madison team. While they have stolen 100 bases, they've been picked off the base pass 30 times this year as well. And I like your chances with someone like Cole Messina, who's been able to pick runners off at certain times this year. They're going to test them. That's my thing. I think James Madison's certainly going to test them. And a good way to discourage them, like you said, is for him to be able to pick one or two off. Don't let them get one or two, because then they feel like they're going to be able to do it every time they get on base. And Cole's got a good enough arm. And look, D1 Baseball has him as the best catcher in America. And a lot of that is the tools he's got behind the plate. We talk about his bat all the time, but the guy's got incredible pop time. He's got a really good arm. And it's usually almost always on target, right? Whether it beats the runner or not isn't always a certainty, but what we do know is the throw is going to be on target. So that's a big thing today to watch for Cole. And look, I feel I'm Homer at plate with him, too. I watched his batting practice about 30 minutes ago, and he sent a couple into the trees out here opposite the field. And that ball was flying off of his bat. So don't be surprised at all if he continues what he did here in Raleigh today.
Elijah Campbell from the postgame show covering the Gamecocks and Raleigh Regional, sponsored by Columbia Craft. You might be on today with Jay. You might not. We'll find out later. But you'll definitely be jumping in tomorrow. 45 minutes before the network pregame, you and Tyler will do our local pregame, sponsored by Columbia Craft, getting you ready for whatever direction South Carolina goes in this thing. We appreciate you, bud. We'll talk to you soon. Don't get arrested.
Absolutely.
You look like a criminal. Don't get arrested.
Yeah, I look the part already, so I'll try my best to at least keep the company image as clean as possible. Cleaner looking than myself.
See you, pal. Thanks a lot for jumping in, man. We'll talk to you. All right, that is Elijah Campbell from Raleigh. Again, 1:45, our coverage gets started here on the game.
Thing he doesn't know is we don't have enough money to bail him out, so if he gets arrested, he's screwed.
Why do you think we have to get him sponsored to go?
That's right.
We're
better hope they're going to be able to help you out, not us.
Hey, can you bail someone out with craft beer?
You know, if we have enough of those cards.
Just saying, craft beer card. Can we get our guy out? All right, we'll come back in here. We have our Firehouse Subtext the Hour coming up at 803-404-6100. We're going to play a little game, too.
Terry's geography test
this
coming your way.
This is going to be ugly. Coming up here on the halftime show on the game. Time to check the old Firehouse sub. Text the hour 803-404-6100. What you got there, man?
Well, congratulations are in order. Nameless texter says, it's 12 o'clock and Terry is here. Must be a special occasion.
Again, we've set it up to be, what do we have? We wagers on it?
Yeah, there's the one person that, I don't know if it's the same guy or not, but at work they place dollar bets on how late you're going to be. And I'll give them a good gauge when the show starts. I'm like, okay, well, he's out in the bullpen area talking, so it's probably only going to be about 2 or 3 minutes. But if I haven't seen you yet, when I come in here, I'm like, we could be looking at 4 or 5.
The over-under goes to 4 or 5?
Yeah, the over-under goes 4 or 5.
Thank you on the text line. Yes, I made it. Bam. I was in here, button up the ears and get ready to roll as the open was rolling.
So. We call being late Wes Mitchelling. If you are not familiar with that.
You're Wes Mitchelling?
Intern Joe was a little late this morning. He texted me, says, I'm pulling a Wes. I'll be there after the show starts.
Wes is fashionable.
He's usually right on time. Like as the intro is rolling, he's walking in the studio. He's not a minute sooner, not a minute later. Usually right on time.
My man times it. I've seen him. And when he walks too, it's not like he's not moving fast to get in here
No, he's not.
He knows what's up.
Because we watch him walk by the window, one speed, walking at the same speed.
He's just taking the West pace. And he walks at the same time. All right, so we appreciate the text, like always, on the our Firehouse sub. Text the hour 803-404-6100. All right, we're going to do something a little fun. We just were joking around yesterday about where Bryant was.
Yes, do you remember?
No, Rhode Island.
Smithfield, Rhode Island.
Yes. So Bryant is in Rhode Island. And we were joking about knowing where little schools are across the country because, again, we hear of these schools, but some of them we actually don't know where the heck they are.
That's right.
So we're going to have a little fun with this now and see if we know where the heck they are.
All right, I have 4 schools. All of them did make the NCAA tournament.
Right, here we go. Let me stretch.
I'm going to give you the school name. You're going to have to tell me what state it's located in and then see if you can guess the town name.
Yeah, this is going to be awful. Go.
All right, we're going to start off with Nichols State.
That's in Louisiana.
That is in Louisiana. You know where in Louisiana?
Nichols, Louisiana.
It is not Nichols, Louisiana. It is Thibodaux, and the dough at the end has the
EAU.
Right. The French way of spelling it.
Okay, at least I got Louisiana, but after that, no shot at the town.
How about Niagara?
Oh, Niagara's up north in New York State.
Okay, where in New York State?
In Niagara Falls. I can't help you. Right on the falls. The university is right on the falls.
It's floating on the edge of the falls at all times.
It's always ready to tip.
They hit their home runs over the falls.
I just know it's in New York.
Lewiston, New York.
That was close. No, I'm not.
How about High Point University?
Oh, North Carolina.
High Point, North Carolina.
High Point,
close
North
enough.
Carolina. There you go.
Last one, Stetson.
Oh, the Hatters. Wait a minute. Oh, no. Oral Roberts is in Oklahoma.
I had that one on the list, but I thought that might be a little too easy because they were in the tournament last year.
Yeah, they've been in the tournament here lately so much. It's easy. They're Tulsa, Oklahoma, I think, Oral Roberts.
I think so. They got the statue with the hands.
Yeah. That spiel.
Yeah.
Stetson, the Hatters. Oh, this is going to be. They're in Stetson. No, I don't. What state? Oh, my gosh. I'm going to go with, I'm trying to do geography really quick. Panama. No, I don't know this one.
Deland, Florida.
I wouldn't have got it. No shot.
It's pretty close to like Daytona. They're in that area.
Oh, party time.
But see, you did better than you thought you would.
Yeah, 3 out of 4. I couldn't get any of the towns.
Because, see, I was telling you, when I was a kid playing the NCAA games where you do Road to Glory, where you're your own football player going through college, you had to pick a major. And my major was always sports geography. So, you'd have to take tests. And if you failed the test, you couldn't play.
Are you serious?
I'm so serious. You'd have like a 10-question test and be like, all right, where's West Virginia located? And be like, Morgantown, West Virginia, State College, PA, like give you all these options. So I've gotten really good at knowing where at least the major Division I universities are located.
That's funny. If you fail the test, you can't play.
Like you have a GPA and they went very detailed into it.
That's actually cool. That really is. I wonder if they're going to do it with the new version.
Honestly, that game's a little bit stricter than some schools actually are with their student athletes. We're being honest here.
There are some schools, we won't mention any names.
Well, I'll say this. I had a class with a very prominent football player when I was in Georgia. He's dumber than a bag of rocks. How he had a passing GPA, I do not know.
Oh, you know?
Oh, I know.
We both know.
But I was taking a test, and there was a sports management class. I'm like, if I'm struggling with this, I know Buddy back there has no clue what's going on.
Yeah.
You know what? He passed and he played.
That's all that matters.
And you know what? He's in the NFL right now, so best of luck. Save your money.
And by the way, you probably can't fall back on that college education.
No, we cannot.
Just saying. Oh, that was cool. We got 3 out of 4. We'll try that again. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll run that again next week sometime.
I'm all about obscure things in the sports world. So.
Oh yeah, we'll run this. We'll run this back out next week, maybe a couple times. All right, because talking season's coming.
That's right. Lists.
So, yeah.
Games.
The one thing we don't do, Mount Rushmores ever.
That's right.
Ever. And we don't do GOAT conversations.
Nope.
Nope. That's not low hanging. That's fruit on the ground. All right, 1 o'clock hour football, and some baseball in the halftime show. Oh, halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head here on the game. The 1 o'clock hour always is football, and we will football. Sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. We'll mix in some baseball because 1:45, we get rolling. South Carolina, James Madison, Raleigh Regional.
Can I start off with a little bit of baseball? We do have a starting lineup.
Well, let's do it.
No drama here. Talmadge LeCroy is your starting third baseman.
There you go. Run through the lineup real quick, my man.
Going to start off Austin Brindling, Ethan Petrie, Blake Jackson, Cole Messina in the cleanup spot. Then you got Parker Nolan, Kennedy Jones, Dalton Reeves, Talmadge LeCroy, and Tippett rounding things off at shortstop.
No surprise, no shock there at all.
None at all.
Any way, shape, or form. Okay, now, we talked about this earlier. I would have started LeCroy at third. I just think, again, he played there last year for you in the NCAA tournament.
Here's the thing. You're going to have a quick trigger. Things start going south.
Yeah, and you might, if he continues to struggle offensively, depending on the game flow, you might pinch hit for him later in the game.
Right.
But I would have started him. So we'll see where it goes from there. So there's your starting lineup. Talmadge LeCroy is at third base. Eli Jones will take the ball for South Carolina. And again, 1:45 pregame, 2 o'clock first pitch here in Columbia and on our Myrtle Beach affiliate, Gamecocks baseball in the Raleigh Regional versus the Dukes of James Madison. All right, to football, the schedule, obviously not all of it, but part of it came out yesterday, and I heard this today, that June 11th, the SEC is going to be giving start times for the SEC-controlled games, which can I, real quick? Woohoo!
Yeah.
Thank you.
And for the ones, while you may not get a specific start time, you'll get a range of time frame basically saying, all right, well, South Carolina and Ole Miss, that's going to be a night game. That can mean 7:30, and it will depend, on where teams stand at that point in time, because there does need to be some flexibility. Because
absolutely,
Butts pointed up earlier that if A&M starts off the year 7-0, well, guess what? We thought A&M wasn't going to be that good. Now they're undefeated. Well, we're going to start putting more of the games in prime time as opposed to noon kicks or whatever. So there's going to be some flexibility, but you're going to have a general idea of the time frame of all these
which
games.
Makes me very happy.
Well before the season starts.
Makes me very, very happy.
Yeah.
For many reasons. Makes me very happy. This way it was oh God.
What? So the 12-day window is bad enough.
Yeah.
The 7-day window, where it's like, well, you could get 7 or 7:30 or on 8 o'clock or whatever, depending on this upcoming week's matchups.
Yeah. So I'm happy about this. This is very good. Step forward.
That's right.
Evolving. We didn't really get into a lot of it yesterday because all the start times that we did get, we were pretty much getting ready to wrap up the show.
Right.
So what we did get, though, was interesting.
Yes. With our 4:15 kick.
Yeah, Old Dominion. Which is a weird, that's a weird one. 4:15 is a weird one.
Which apparently that's going to be the new thing now. I looked this up earlier. That's how it's going to be consistently for the SEC network. You'll have a 12:45 kick.
Which is interesting.
Does that mean SEC Nation goes to 12:45 now instead of ending at noon like game day or whatever that may be? I don't know, but you're going to have 12:45. You're going to have a 4:15, and then you're going to have a 7:45 game as the nightcap on SEC Network.
And obviously these are being staggered for TV reasons.
Yes.
And it's just a different world. The 4:15 is kind of bizarre, but, I get it. Then you have, let's see, the nooner with LSU is interesting, and we're going to get to that.
That's bumming a lot of people out, and I get it.
Well, here's the thing about that, and we know we've already known that Kentucky won.
Sure.
The LSU, I get it. In a perfect world, that is a night game at Willie B.
Sure, you would think so.
Feels like that's a natural. But we have to take a step back for a minute. Texas, San Antonio is the afternoon window.
Yes.
You're saying, really? Over South Carolina, LSU? What's the first part of that sentence I said?
That'd be Texas.
Texas. Big brand, lots of eyeballs. No offense to LSU and South Carolina. Bigger brand name than both schools. Should get more eyeballs and TV ratings if it's Texas, right?
Yes.
Then the night window, and that will be the Georgia game.
Georgia.
And Kentucky, right?
Now a lot of teams in the SEC are playing non-conference opponents, but here are the teams in the SEC that will get night games. So you get Texas, that late afternoon night game. You get Georgia and Kentucky, Auburn, Mississippi State, and Tennessee will all be in action.
Georgia's another one. Big brand, best team in college football. You figure you get bigger ratings there.
But here's something else important to note. Big noon Saturday is Alabama and Wisconsin. ABC's trying to offset that a little bit, saying, okay, and yes, Alabama's technically a bigger brand than both South Carolina and LSU, but LSU does tickle people's fancy a little bit.
It isn't Georgia, it isn't Texas, but LSU is known through the country, and they've had their success. Obviously won a national title a few years ago. They have won 3 national titles with 3 different coaches in the last, 20 years, 25 years?
Yep.
So LSU is known, not to the level of a Georgia or Texas, but that is a known quantity. And you're right, that would be a little counter-programming to Alabama, Wisconsin.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's a bummer you don't get the night game. I love a night game at Williams-Brice,
Oh,
man.
totally. And
so cool.
LSU was like the quintessential nighttime team. It made a lot of sense. But, I mean...
Well, remember night games in Baton Rouge are a huge thing.
Death Valley, that's the thing. We'll get that one wrapped up early. We'll be up bright and early for that pregame show.
Yes, we will. Get the party lot set, baby.
As long as Adam Vance brings the coffee and donuts, we're good.
Remember last year we had that 7 a.m., and nobody's out there, obviously.
Yeah.
Remember, we had the coffee and the donuts. We were inside of in the party room, the VIP room.
Listen, I thought, because that was, I forget what game that was for, maybe Vandy. It was cold. And I was prepared to be out in the cold at 7 a.m. I wore like 4 layers.
You did.
And we were inside, thankfully. Yeah. But I was prepared.
Yeah, you were unlayering as we went along. It was, that was an interesting pregame show. Dark. It was dark.
Oh, yeah.
It was dark.
I was like, are we really going to be outside for this?
So, LA, look, it's really funny. Gunner's sitting here in the morning whining like he's 70. I want noon games. I don't want those night games where I've got to stay up late. I'm like, I'm older than you, man. I love a night game at Williams-Brice.
Which, by the way, and we talk about the Old Dominion game and how hot it's going to be. Gunner watches a lot of these games from the comfort of air conditioning at the stadium, by the way, because he's, I don't know what you call it, the club area or whatever. So he's not out there sweating to death like most of these people are.
Right. You think that he's out there, sitting with the students the way he's acting.
Not. He's very comfortable.
Yeah. Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
So he's like, noon games all through the month of August and September.
That way I can get home and I can put my Snuggie on and sit on the couch and watch football and fall asleep after I've had some tapioca pudding. Anyway, so it's a disappointing deal having the LSU South Carolina game as a noon kick. But look, this is the world. I think you hit a really good point on counter programming, ABC, and also you got now a big brand like Texas is just they are going to take the stage ahead of a lot of teams in the SEC. They just
100%.
are. Because we know Texas up until last year was the biggest underachiever in college football over the last roughly 15, 20 years.
They were the biggest running joke for the past decade plus.
What was the joke?
Texas
We're back.
No,
remember
you're
that? And there's no guarantee they're back after last year, but at least last year they finally showed some signs of life after being on a respirator for forever.
Right.
But to take away what they do on the field, they are a huge brand in college football.
Right.
And they are going to be getting center stage ahead of a lot of schools in this conference. And that's just reality. Why do you think they're in the SEC?
Because they're a huge brand.
Yeah, they're a gigantic brand. Oklahoma's a big brand, but they're not Texas.
No.
And to be fair, most of the schools in the SEC, when it comes to brand, they aren't Texas.
Yeah.
That's just life. Doesn't mean, again, you got to throw away. We always want to equate everything with performance on the football field.
That does not matter.
No, it does not. Notre Dame was, from when Lou Holtz left until Brian Kelly took over, Notre Dame, for the most part, didn't matter on the field.
Right.
Still one of the biggest brands in college football. Still had their own network. Still pulled decent ratings.
Yep.
That's what it's about. You got to get away from that. Yeah, but no, it doesn't matter about the one-loss record. What matters is Texas is a known brand in the world of college football.
That's like when we, talk about Clemson, Florida State, and why they wouldn't be attractive to the SEC. But they won national. It doesn't matter. But they've done that. It doesn't matter.
You see their record?
They are not looking at your trophy case when they're figuring out who to bring in.
Not at all.
They're like, how much money can you bring this conference? How many eyeballs can you bring to our TV partners?
Give us the value that you're going to bring regarding ratings and revenue.
That's all that matters.
What we care about.
Which again,
not your one-loss record. Don't care.
What do we point to? Rutgers is in the Big Ten. Not because of any. They've never accomplished anything on the football field. They went to like the St. Petersburg Bowl with Shianu back in like '09. Great. That's about the extent of their success.
When Rutgers was brought into the Big Ten, it was about as low as it could be.
Yeah.
As a football program. Do you think the Big Ten cared? They
No.
Care? I guarantee you, Jim Delaney couldn't tell you the Rutgers one-loss record before they added
tell
Rutgers.
you where Rutgers is.
Well, he knew New York City. That's what he thought.
You're somewhere over there, right?
Well, they're in the New York cable system. They're our team.
Yeah.
We love Rutgers. We love them. Where are they at? Really quick. New Jersey? That's a state? Really? Okay. Oh, Sopranos.
There's a New Jersey? What happened to Old Jersey?
The Old Jersey. So, yeah, it just has nothing to do with how good you are on the field. It just doesn't.
It's not.
It doesn't.
But Texas and Oklahoma bring a lot to this conference. And again, Oklahoma, not as much as Texas, but still, again, thought of as a blue blood of college football. They've had plenty of success in their past. They have a passionate fan base, and people pay attention when Oklahoma is good.
From the 1950s till today, Oklahoma might have as many losing seasons as we can count on our one hand.
Very consistent.
They have had great coaches from Bud Wilkinson, Chuck Fairbanks, Barry Switzer, Bob Stoops. Lincoln Riley took the torch, got the 10 wins again last year with Venables. This is a program that is used to winning at a big, gigantic level.
Yes.
And they might not be Texas in brand recognition, but you know what? They're not far off.
They're not.
They're not far off.
I mean, there's no denying that these were the two biggest brands the Big 12 ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're kind of floating aimlessly without those two brands a little bit, but that's why they came in as a package deal.
I mean, really, again, the Pac-12 screwed this up. The Pac-12 almost had that signed, sealed, and delivered.
They should. The Big 12 should have fallen apart years ago, not the Pac-12.
Well, remember, everybody thought the Big 12 was going to fall apart in Texas, Oklahoma.
They were going to take like 6 teams.
And 2 other teams at the very least were going to go off to the Pac-12. But again, the Pac-12, hey, Gold, we don't want that school. The academic standards are nowhere near that of Cal or Stanford.
How's the Pac-12 doing right now?
Exactly. How'd you like your Grey Poupon now, pal? What do you think of that, Pac-12? All right, we'll get back in here. It's football in the 1 o'clock hour. We're squeezing some baseball as well. A couple interesting little tidbits. If you're a fan of Hard Knocks, we'll tell you who's on Hard Knocks. We'll get to that next. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head, as we yap football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Getting you ready for baseball, 145 Raleigh Regional. Our coverage starts 2 o'clock first pitch, South Carolina and James Madison here on the Game in Columbia and Myrtle Beach. It's a halftime show here on the Game. 2 o'clock today, Todd Mazzocchi for James Madison, Eli Jones for South Carolina. First pitch in the Raleigh Regional. Our coverage starts at 1:45 here in Columbia and also Myrtle Beach here on the game. It's a halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, baseball until the 1 o'clock hour. Then we go football. Sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. All right, so Hard Knocks. When this first came out, the Baltimore Ravens were the first team on Hard Knocks, coming off of winning the championship, winning the Super Bowl in 2000. Mm-hmm. So obviously I watched it. And I've watched it over the years, but I've decreased in my viewership of Hard Knocks because it's like the Jets kind of ended it because that was such a nut show.
Sure.
With Rex Ryan, half his words had to be bleeped out, and everything was always
smelling
crazy.
People's feet, and it was weird.
After the Jets, almost the Jets kind of like, kind of broke it for me.
Right.
And I really haven't watched it that much. I'll just look at little clips and bits and pieces or read something about it.
Sure.
So I'm kind of jumped the shark on Hard Knocks myself.
Yeah.
Not to say it's not good. They don't do a nice job, but after version 155, what are we unearthing here?
It gets a little redundant, and it gets to that point where the only time people talk about Hard Knocks is the old versions of Hard Knocks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, that season back in 2004, that was a really good one, and today's not as good. Like, when people talk about SNL, kind of in the same way.
Oh, same thing. When Antonio Cromartie couldn't name all of his kids, where do you go from there? Where do you go from there?
It's pretty legendary.
Exactly. Well, the Bears will be on Hard Knocks. It's funny because the chairman of the Bears, George McCaskey, he's been opposed to having the Bears on Hard Knocks forever.
Right.
And he even said, like, at the owners' meetings, hey, we're told there's some interest from other teams. We'd welcome it. You can have it.
Right.
You can have Hard Knocks. And, of course, the Bear fan says, George, just be quiet and let's go win some games. Look, if I were a head coach, the last thing I want is that circus.
Oh,
I don't want that circus.
Especially a program or an organization like that, again, has stifled as of late. Let's focus on winning some games, not being entertaining for the HBO cameras or Showtime, whoever does it now.
Yeah, because it's HBO. Here's the thing. And I say this all the time about reality TV. Okay, so we're talking about reality TV being the real world. Real. You're being real, man, right?
Sure.
So when you wake up in the morning, Tyler, and you get out of bed,
yep,
and you're rolling off to the bathroom or heading off to the kitchen or whatever you do.
Sure.
Does a big camera crane with a camera guy with a camera follow you anywhere?
If they do, I'm not aware of it.
It wouldn't be very interesting, would it?
Probably not.
That's my point. This is not reality TV ever.
Yeah.
And it's always being manipulated by producers and directors and all this other stuff. It's not true reality.
And look, this is going to be a lot of focus on Caleb Williams.
Sure it is. That's why they're there.
That is why they're there, and people are either going to really like Caleb Williams or they're going to hate his freaking guts by the time this is over because he is a little different.
It's a nice way to put it. Yep. He is a little different. But you know what? If you're a little different and you, so to speak, ball out, you're eccentric and you think outside the box and you're interesting and compelling and charismatic.
Look, if they start off 5-2, everybody in the stand is going to be painting their nails like him.
Absolutely. But if he struggles in the Bear, let's say he pulls like what we saw in Charlotte with Bryce Young.
Oh, they're going to be dumping nail polish remover on him in the tunnel.
You're a kook. Quit painting your nails and go watch some film, weirdo. I mean, you know what's going to happen. Absolutely.
Because, the city of Chicago is so kind and understanding of people.
And patient. Yes. And they're not passionate about sports at all in Chicago.
He's gonna throw an incompletion on his first drive. This bum's a bust.
Boo.
What did we waste a first pick on him for?
Boo. Should have drafted Stroud last year. Boo. So, Hard Knocks, the Bears, HBO. There you go. All right. With the SEC meetings have been going on in Destin, obviously. And we've been playing some coaches through the week. We didn't get to Mike Elko, new head coach at Texas A&M. And the cupboard isn't as full as it was a few years ago when A&M had that historic recruiting class with Jimbo. A lot of dudes have transferred out. But there's still a lot of talent in College Station. And here's the new head coach at A&M, Mike Elko, talking about what they could possibly do with the Aggies.
I think we've got the base to be something really, really special. I think there's a lot of talented players in that locker room. I think there's a lot of talented players that are not really excited about the way the last 2 years have gone. I think that's always a good recipe for getting kids' attention. You know, I think when you can very clearly point out where they're not getting the results that they want, I think that gives them the opportunity, the need, and desire to want to hear ways to do it better. And so we've been able to do that. I think that's what's helped get some buy-in to the culture we've tried to bring into it.
I mean, what else are you going to say? Of course you're going to say, hey, we can do something special here. We got the pieces in place and blah, blah, blah.
Think about if you were one of these people, boosters or whatever, that was responsible for paying that massive buyout to Jimbo Fisher and then obviously helping pay the salary for Mike Elko to come in there and finally get this program on the right track. And he says, yeah, I don't know if we're going to do anything special here or not. We might be okay.
Ready?
Like,
I don't know why I took this job besides the money. This is a dumpster fire.
Can't believe they paid me all this money to come here.
It's crazy. I mean, these guys are meddlers. There's no way you can win here. How funny would that be? Ready? I wish Stoops would have taken this gig, and I could have stayed at Duke. That would have been phenomenal. But honestly, Jimbo just wouldn't evolve. Let's just be clear here. Jimbo wouldn't evolve. And you've got to always be evolving. And Jimbo was still holding, 100-page playbook on the sideline, going through it. Again, you got to evolve and understand where the game's going, and Jimbo just couldn't do it.
No,
wouldn't do it.
The biggest step was turning over play calling to Bobby Petrino a season ago, and that didn't end up resulting in too many positives there. So, Jimbo was kind of next on the chopping block. But you and I talked about this when they decided to move on from Jimbo halfway through last season. He's now a program builder. He was handed the reins to an already very well-established Florida State program that, hey, credit him. He took it to a national championship. That's great. But Bobby Bowden built that thing. You didn't.
Right. And I keep saying this all the time. When you hire these guys, you hire the shiny guy, right? It's won like a ton of games.
Sure.
It depends on the situation at your program. If your program is in need of program building, go get a program builder.
Yes.
Don't look at a one-loss record. Because some dude, like Ryan Day, no offense to Ryan Day, he's never built jack.
No, he was literally handed the keys to the Ferrari.
Absolutely. Or look, everybody jumps up and down about Lincoln Riley.
Sure.
And Lincoln Riley might end up building a powerhouse at Southern Cal.
Maybe.
But I don't know. You know why? Lincoln Riley didn't build what he had at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So, but the flip side is, you're Kansas. You've sucked for 144 years. You need a program builder, a culture builder, a dude that has gone to outposts you've never heard of and has won. You got the perfect guy, Lance Leopold.
Yep.
Built something, you know where Whitewater is, right?
Wisconsin.
Good job.
Yes.
He won 7 billion championships at Wisconsin Whitewater in Division 50.
Right.
Went to Buffalo and got Buffalo ranked. Not the Bills, the University of Buffalo.
Right.
This guy checks every box of program builder. Kansas made a smart hire.
Absolutely.
A&M made a dumb hire. Just to be real, in Jimbo Fisher.
Yeah.
You didn't get a program builder. You got a guy that was handed an iconic program. Go run with it, Jimbo.
Yeah. Now, on the flip side of things, look at Mike Elko and what he was able to do at Duke. Now, did he take Duke to an ACC championship game? No, but he established a good foundation under that program and again, people in Duke don't care about football. Like, that's not their priority out there. So whether they're good or bad doesn't really matter. But you looked at what they were doing, and obviously highlighted by beating Clemson in week number 1 last year, you're like, damn, this program's not too bad.
Now, to be fair to those folks in College Station who we love to pick on, Elko might be a great hire for what you just said. Elko took Duke back to something. I mean, Cutcliffe had them going to bowl games, and they were solid, but then they kind of fell off. But then Elko took it right back up. Elko's done something where you can go, that might be able to be transported from Durham to College Station. That might be a good hire before it's all said and done. So we'll see what happens with A&M. All righty. Football in the 1 o'clock hour. Greg Sankey, very vocal in Destin at the SEC meetings. Old Greg talked about something that if you go deeper into the conversation, and if you're into college basketball and love the little guy in the NCAA tournament and the little guy in Division I,
it's not looking good.
It ain't looking good. So we're going to get to that next. Football as we get you ready at 1:45 for baseball here on the game. Raleigh Regional, South Carolina, James Madison, Derek and Stewart on the call. Pre-game festivities at 1:45, first pitch at 2. It's coming up on the game here in Columbia and in Myrtle Beach. It's a halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head on the game. Well, we're
This
talking
ballpark
about...
is very similar to Founders, where if there's a breeze blowing out, I would imagine it's a pretty good home run ballpark. If the wind is blowing in, it'll play bigger. I think the infield plays fairly similar to Founders Park in terms of the speed. It appears to be very well taken care of, so I think the ballpark will play very fair.
There's Mark Kingston talking about Doak Field, where obviously NC State's home ballpark, where the Raleigh Regional is. We get it going to 1:45 with the pregame show with Derek and Stewart. 2 o'clock first pitch. Eli Jones taking the ball for the South Carolina Gamecocks as South Carolina opens up NCAA play. Our buddy Todd Mazzocchi from Delaney High School, Cockeysville, Maryland, will take the ball for James Madison.
Your personal vendetta.
Delaney High School.
What was their mascot?
Delaney, what were they? We had some mascot names we can't repeat. What was Delaney? The Tigers? Maybe. Been a while, man. I think it was Tigers.
What are you guys?
Bluebirds.
Bluebirds?
Swear to God. I mean, it's
not intimidating.
I was going to say, for the school I went to, the fact that the mascot is the Bluebirds is pretty funny.
See, we were the Rams.
See, that's a good one. Maybe we were the way we were because we were trying to overcome the mascot that is the Bluebirds.
Now, did they have like a cheesy saying for your mascot? Because ours was, we are Rams, we're respectful, accountable, motivated, and successful. We are Rams, Rams rise. They made us repeat that every morning.
Ours was, we are Bluebirds, we will cut you. That's not good. Don't have much of a ring to it, does it?
Not really, but believable. Especially with that chewing glass thing.
All right.
Hey, you don't want to mess around with those bluebirds over there.
That's right. Bluebirds, how tough can they be?
Bluebirds will make you see red.
All right, so I keep knocking out my earbuds today, Tyler. All right, at the SEC meetings in Destin, Greg Sankey, who's been very vocal this week, as he should be, being the commissioner of the league, Greg Sankey was talking, and this again, if you love the NCAA tournament the way I do, and love the Cinderellas and the mid-majors and the lower mid-majors who pull upsets, the St. Pete story, or the VCU to the Final Four, George Mason, Butler, a back-of-the-rim heave from upsetting Duke and winning the championship.
A good Cinderella can make an entire March. It doesn't matter what the Blue Bloods and the other teams do. If you have a good Cinderella story that can carry you for a couple weeks, that can make the entire tournament.
It's what makes the NCAA tournament so special. Well, if it's up to Greg Sankey and the other power schools, they'll squash that. And because they want more mediocre power conference teams in the tournament because it makes them more money.
I was going to say, let me ask you this. Does VCU go into the Final Four help the SEC make more money?
No, and that's the point.
Not.
And that's the problem with college athletics. There's no grand poobah. There's nobody who looks out for the good of the overall sport. Everybody's looking out for themselves, right?
Of course.
I mean, if Greg Sankey can get a mediocre SEC team in with a barely 500 league record in the NCAA tournament and bump some wonderful Cinderella, the SEC makes more dough and everybody in the SEC's happy.
I was going to say Greg Sankey would have sat there with a straight face and argued for Missouri to have been in over Harvard this year.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, Greg, they didn't win a conference game. Shows you how tough our league is.
Exactly. They have the 14th ranked strength of schedule or whatever it is.
Right. Look, that's how good Missouri is.
Exactly.
They're the best winless conference team in the history of college basketball.
You put them up against any other winless team in the country, they're going to beat that team.
But ready? You put Missouri in the Big Sky?
Yeah. You put Missouri in the Ivy League, which that statement should never be repeated again. They'll beat all those teams.
Ready? They'll win a game if you put them in the Ivy League.
Right.
Sankey says this, quote, "We've allowed Division I to grow. We have conferences solving their membership problems by inviting non-Division I members in. But we haven't modified the bracket size. I think common sense says you have to dig into that. There are competitive issues, there are calendar issues, there are economic issues. But I do think that March can be kept together. That doesn't mean it stays exactly the same." You don't have to be a genius to know what that means.
Means, to quote one Mr. Bob Dylan, the times they are a-changin'.
And the other thing Sankey said, the NCAA basketball tournament in March is what binds Division I together. And I agree with that. Because there's a billion reasons why you stay together, and that's the NCAA, the dough from the NCAA tournament.
No, absolutely. And let's be honest here. It's probably the fairest championship across all of Division I because everybody's in a neutral site. Everybody has a chance, single elimination. Like there's a reason that these Cinderellas make it really far because it's a one-and-done type of system. I mean, the college football playoff's certainly not like that. Even regionals in college baseball because you're going to a host site. Nothing is, I'd say, more fair across the board than the NCAA tournament.
Everybody's the same. Once you get to 64, single elimination, neutral sites, everybody's on the same level. It's how you play ball.
Yep.
That's what matters. So I love the tournament.
Me too.
And from a fan's perspective, I don't want it soiled by a bunch of power schools that really shouldn't be in, but they're just getting in because the metrics will help them because they're in a power conference. And all these power conferences are looking out for their own pocketbook.
Now, I have seen some proposals out there, and the exact number of what that would be, I know it's kind of floated out there to be somewhere in the 90s. It is a possibility. If you position it as like a play-in tournament, though, I would not be opposed, where you're essentially expanding on the first four. So let's say, I don't know, you add 12 more teams, make it the first 16, and you run through just a quick tournament between those teams to figure out who gets into the official field of 64. I wouldn't be opposed to something like that.
But here's my thing. Like, we look at the first four now, what bugs me is that you're putting in the lower Division I conference tournament champions.
Yep.
Who earn the automatic bid. No. Grab all your 11 seeded, barely made it in power schools and let them fight for entrance in the 64.
And that would be my caveat. If you're an AQ, you get in the tournament. It's for your at-larges to compete in this mini play-in tournament.
You guys jump in the mosh pit and see who survives.
Sure.
I'm with you. All right, back to the NFL real quick. This was interesting, just a little bit once you hear the deeper part of the conversation. Now, Drew Brees retired in 2020 from the New Orleans Saints. Hall of Fame career, was part of a Super Bowl winning Saints team and put up crazy numbers that were, at that time, record-breaking numbers.
Right.
Brees, this is interesting, though. Brees said that basically he retired because he couldn't throw the football anymore with his right arm because of his right shoulder. Remember, he had surgery on it, and he didn't have zip anymore.
Right.
And we always talk about this on the show. It's not so much throwing the ball down the field 70 yards. It's making throws to the sidelines.
Sure.
Throwing the deep comebacks, the deep ins, the deep outs. That's the problem if you don't have arm strength in the NFL.
Right.
Because a deep ball is usually a 40, 50-yard throw in the NFL.
Yep.
So a guy that can chuck it 70 or 80 yards, who cares? Not to be mean. But can you throw the deep out, the deep sideline? Can you throw the ball between two DBs 20 yards down the field on a rope?
That's what people, when they say NFL throws, that's what they're talking about.
Right. Brees couldn't do it anymore. And he said, I just couldn't make the throws anymore. Here's how bad his right shoulder and arm are now. He plays catch with his kids, football. He throws left-handed.
Wow. Jeez.
He throws left-handed now. He can't throw right-handed at all. He goes, I throw left-handed with my kids.
And honestly, you could still probably throw it better than we could.
Yeah, more accurate than Zach Wilson. He says I can throw it 30 yards on a dime. He goes, but I can't make NFL throws left-handed. But he goes, I can throw it 30 yards pretty good. But that's why. He said, my body was fine. He goes, heck, he's 45 now. He goes, my body still could probably put up with the rigors of the NFL. I just can't throw anymore.
Yeah.
That was interesting. And, the other thing about Brees really quick was that, remember, he was going to be the next great broadcaster. Everybody wanted Drew Brees when he retired, remember?
Right.
And then he jumped in with NBC, and it was
not great.
And remember, there's a little controversy. He wanted to do games, but they wanted him in the studio, and he wasn't happy with NBC, and NBC wasn't super happy with him. That's why it only lasted a year. And you haven't heard anything about him broadcasting since.
Nope.
He says he'd be open to going back to doing broadcasting. He helped out last year with Purdue.
Mm-hmm. Can't say
volunteer
much a lot of Purdue
coaching
games.
Yeah, right.
But yes, I do remember that.
They probably looked at him and said, Drew, you want to go out there and play left-handed?
Yeah.
Got any eligibility left? We kind of stink. But it's really interesting how the broadcasting, he went from being this future superstar in the booth, nothing. And that might be him. He might have been so soured that one year, he might not want to do it.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
But it is very interesting how That's one of the, like Tom Brady. Now, everybody's excited about Brady in the booth.
Mm-hmm.
Just like they were excited about Breeze in the booth. Sometimes this works out really well, and sometimes, like John Madden was perfect, right?
And look, all these guys are smart. All these guys can break things down. You have to have the personality that will translate, which is why everybody loves Greg Olson. I mean, football smart to a T. Great personality.
Yeah.
Like, he really resonates that energy you want when you're watching him. He's exciting. He really brings you into the game and can break things down really easy to where even the most basic fan can understand. Like, that's a rare combination that just because you're a great football player doesn't mean you're going to have that, which I don't know if Tom Brady's going to have that, quite frankly.
I don't either. And that's the thing. Look, Brady, no offense, I've listened to like Brady with Jim Gray on Westwood One.
Yeah.
Was it the Sunday night or Monday night
Sounds
games?
like he's got a gun pointed at his head.
Yeah, he doesn't sound charismatic or very natural. You're right. Sounds like he's being held at gunpoint. Okay, get in front of the microphone, Brady.
Exactly.
We'll mess up your hair if you don't get on that mic. He just doesn't come off.
Smudge your lipstick.
He doesn't come off charismatic. He comes off robotic. Now, is he going to be able to translate in the booth breaking down games? Maybe he'll feel more comfortable as an analyst.
Maybe.
Possibly. But this automatic, and I get why they're paying him all the money. He's Tom Brady. I understand. I do. And look, we didn't know about Peyton Manning being so funny and so personable until he retired. Also, oh my God, this guy's hilarious.
Yeah.
Maybe Brady's got this part of a personality we don't see because he's covered it up because of football. I don't know.
Maybe.
But this automatic thinking that Tom Brady's going to be great, I don't know. Baseball coming up, South Carolina and James Madison from the Raleigh Regional. Our coverage with Stuart and Derek coming up in a matter of seconds. And, of course, South Carolina will also play Saturday. That time, it depends if they win or lose. So Carolina baseball, the Raleigh Regional, coming up next here in Columbia and in Myrtle Beach, right here on The Game. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, halftime show. Thanks for hanging with us on The Game.